Which retinoid is best for your skin type? Are you oily, dry, mature? Do you have acne? Are you sensitive as hell? Because same. I want to go over some of the best retinoids and the products that contain them. And in order to do that, we have to remember what a retinoid is. Retinoid is like an umbrella term. A retinoid encompasses all of these other things that we hear of, like retinol, retinaldehyde, or retinoic acid. These are all part of the vitamin A family. And retinol gets converted into retinal, which is a little bit more potent, which ends up becoming retinoic acid. Retinoic acid is the most potent thing that you can get because it is what your skin uses and turns all of these other retinoids into. The problem is you have to have a prescription in order to get it from a doctor, and it can be very, very irritating to skin, which we are going to talk about. So for all intents and purposes in this video, we're going to talk about retinol, retinal, and retinoic acid. But these three different ingredients also depend on what they are formulated into. For example, something that is formulated to have retinol and vitamin C is probably going to be better for someone who has hyperpigmentation and wants something over the counter, rather than something that has retinol along with ceramides and green tea. We also want to remember that skin types are technically not a thing. They don't exist in dermatology the way the Fitzpatrick scale does. They're mainly created by cosmetic companies and marketers, either to sell you more products or, less nefariously, to help you find the right product in their selection or their lineup that's going to fit your skin's needs the best. And if you want more info on that, we do have a TikTok all about it. Let's start off with some of my favorites, the retinol oils. Vitamin A, all of these retinoids are oil soluble, meaning that putting them into oil-based formulas is really great. This is The Ordinary's retinol and squalane. They have a whole bunch of different ones, all the way up from 0.5% to 2%. And then there's also this one from Dermalogica that is amazing, that has a suspension of jojoba oil. Both of these are going to be best for a drier skin type or somebody who wants to glow. If you're normal and you want to glow, or if you're oily and you want to glow, this is for you. If you're dry and you find that your skin just lacks moisture, using a moisturizer underneath one of these retinol oils is going to be fantastic. But either way, oils are for the people who want to lock that moisture in and tend to be a little bit more on the dry side. The Ordinary's percentages on their retinol oils are kind of a misnomer. It really doesn't matter which one you get. And you could argue that one is going to be less effective or less potent than another, but all retinol gets turned into retinal, which gets turned into retinoic acid. So whether you're getting a 0.5% or a 2%, it doesn't really matter, and it doesn't really impact how it's going to make your skin feel. You don't really have to graduate up that scale, essentially. What I would say is that getting retinol in just plain oil like squalane oil is very different than getting something like retinol that is combined with salicylic acid. This is going to be much better for people who have dry skin and acne, or for those who have oily skin and want to glow but also struggle with acne. Whereas if you don't have the acne, you're looking for the anti-aging benefits, you really don't deal with breakouts, you don't need the salicylic acid in here. So this one, the retinol and squalane, is fantastic. I do want to point out that this Dermalogica product technically has retinol propionate. In the big fancy chemistry science words, is a vitamin A ester. And a lot of medical studies have shown that it actually works to be a little bit more bioavailable than something like plain retinol. However, in my experience and the way they work on my skin, which is anecdotal, they tend to be very, very similar, and this tends to be not as irritating. So take that as you will, but both of these have an oil formula. Now, what if you're someone who doesn't want to use a skincare oil? You're like, hey, I actually have really dry skin and I don't need an oil to lock moisture in, I just need moisture to my face. That is where this from Paula's Choice comes in. This is the Barrier Repair Moisturizer with retinol, and this is fantastic if you have dry skin or a damaged skin barrier. For example, you use something like this, the prescription retinoic acid, and it burned your frickin' face off. This is a really good way to get a retinoid in that doesn't overly burn the face. This is a good way that takes a lot of the guesswork out. This does have ceramides, this has shea butter, this also has green tea, so if you have a damaged skin barrier, your skin will love this. This is really good for more sensitive skin types and more dry skin types. And what if you're not dry, but you're just plain sensitive, and you're like, I don't need the hydration, I'm just sensitive as fuck? Well, also, same. That is when adapalene comes in. And this is one of my favorite brands, Acne Free, that's actually made for acne-prone skin. If you are a teenager, if you have hormonal teenage acne, if you do have lots of acne and breakouts, this retinoid is going to be fantastic for you. But also, if you have sensitive skin, this might be a great go, even if you're just sensitive dealing with wrinkles, or sensitive dealing with scars, or sensitive and hyperpigmentation. This is adapalene gel, and this is basically a synthetic retinoid. Essentially, a whole bunch of scientists and chemists and dermatologists were saying, hey, retinoids are really irritating to the skin, is there a way to make one that is just as effective, if not more effective, and have it be less irritating to skin? And voila, this was born. Adapalene gel, you can think of it as like a cousin to a retinoid, but it honestly works very, very well. And you can right now get it without a prescription. The one from Acne Free is cruelty-free, which is why I love it. It's also very inexpensive. This whole thing is under 10 bucks. And if you have acne, and if you're on a budget, this is so affordable. But if you have sensitive skin, this doesn't cause the dryness, the peeling, the redness, and the irritation the way that something like a normal prescription retinoid would. This is probably the best choice for someone who is sensitive, but what if you just have acne? You're like, I'm not super sensitive, but I just got acne. I got pimples on the face. That is when I would recommend something that combines your actives. Remember that some of the best acne fighting ingredients are things like sulfur, benzoyl peroxide, as well as salicylic acid. And unfortunately, it's hard to find a lot of products that have sulfur and retinoids or benzoyl peroxide and retinoids, but salicylic acid and retinoids is easy to come by. And that's when I would point you back to this one from Dermalogica. Another really good option for combining actives is getting a custom blended prescription. This is one from Apostrophe. This is one from Dermatica, and both of these are prescriptions. You're actually getting the full strength wham bam thank you ma'am retinoid, but you're getting it blended with other ingredients such as salicylic acid or tranexamic acid if you have hyperpigmentation, or azelaic acid if you have rosacea. I really like Apostrophe, I like Dermatica, I like Agency. There's also Rory, which is really good and available. I know that Curology also has some retinoid products as well. Which of those companies is best for you is going to depend on your skin type and your skin's needs, but luckily we've already got a video going over all of that. All you need to know is that if you've got acne, especially if it's like medical grade acne or cystic acne, retinoid in a prescription form is probably going to be your best friend. You need to get it prescribed by a derm, but sometimes you can also get other things blended in. Now let's talk about those prescription strength retinoids, that Retin A, that Tazorac cream, that tretinoin. This is the straight up shot of espresso, coffee versus the calm chai tea latte, okay? This stuff can make you peel, this stuff can make you burn, this stuff can make your face feel like it's falling off, but it also works really freaking well and it's inexpensive. It's just really hard to use, and that's why a lot of people blame retinoids for their dryness and irritation. Now, who is this best for? This is for a skintellectual. I mean, this is basically the gold standard of dermatology, and it is the basics. It doesn't include anything else special, but it takes all of the guesswork out of it for you. And if you learn how to use it correctly, like sandwiching your retinoid or making sure that you only use it 3 times a week, building up to a retinoid so that you don't go through that period of retinization, this is really the best of the best. The problem is that for some people who maybe haven't learned those things or don't get a lot of time to talk with their doctor or derm, it can be really hard to do. This is for seasoned skintellectuals, and it's not to be nervous about. Like, just make sure that you're sticking to a routine and working with it instead of against it, using it properly. But for some people that can be intimidating, and so getting a product that has everything put together is just fine. Because this is the pure potent stuff, it does work for everything else that normal retinoids do. We're talking acne, we're talking hyperpigmentation, scars, fine lines and wrinkles, etc. But if you do have fine lines and wrinkles, is there something slightly better? While this will be the most potent, there are other formulas that actually create products that have other ingredients that also target those fine lines and wrinkles. This right here is the Crystal Retinol 3 from Medicate, and this is actually very interesting because if you'll notice, this isn't retinol with an O, this is retinol with an A. This is fantastic, and instead of just being this bottom level retinoid, this is a step up. This is the most potent you can get without a prescription. It isn't as irritating as full-on retinoic acid, but it's kind of here right up against that border of what is allowed to be sold over the counter legally, and this is really, really good. This has glycerin, squalane, ascorbic acid, carrot seed oil, and this is fantastic. You could use it for any skin type, but I love this for mature skin. If you're trying to fight fine lines or wrinkles, you want something that is soothing on the skin, that works well, that absorbs nicely, this is going to be a BFF. This is fantastic. It is expensive, but it is worth every penny, and it is potent. And even if you're an adult who struggles with adult acne, you could definitely use adapalene, but this is the closest you're going to get to a prescription without actually getting one. Medicate really did a great job with this. It's a next generation vitamin A. It's a stable retinol night serum. Mwah, so good. But what about those people who deal with hyperpigmentation? Retinoids can be used and often are used in the treatment of hyperpigmentation, but we also know that ingredients like licorice or vitamin C, other tyrosinase inhibitors, are super helpful for people who get dark spots, pigmentation, patches, etc. But if you read a lot of beauty publications online, they'll tell you never to mix your retinoids and vitamin C. Why? Well, not really based on science, but just based on irritation. People are like, oh, it can be irritating, or vitamin C is normally formulated at a lower pH, so it's more acidic, whereas retinoids normally like to be around a 5, and our skin is about a 5.5. And if you have two things that are so far off on the pH scale, it's almost like they don't want to live in the same environment. However, there are brands that are changing that, and some companies that have actually found a way to blend the two. So while it may not be the best idea to get your expensive crystal retinol serum and mix it with some really, stingy low pH vitamin C, if you find a cosmetic chemist who knows what the heck they're doing, they can blend it for you and it can turn out phenomenal. This right here is from BeYoutiful. This is the Super Retinol Vitamin C Night Cream Renewal Moisturizer with encapsulated retinol and ferulic acid. So it's stable, it helps with hyperpigmentation and discoloration or dark spots thanks to that vitamin C, and it's also got the retinoid in there, so it helps with the wrinkles, the acne, hyperpigmentation, etc. Now they say this is a night cream. I will say I use this in my morning skincare routine. This is something that I put on every freaking day and I love it. This one is really lightweight. I love this for my oily skin, but I think that BeYoutiful is only available in the UK and the US. I don't know if it's available in other countries, which is why we've also got this one, which is fantastic. This one is from Paula's Choice. This is the 0.3% retinol and 2% bakuchiol with peptides and vitamin C. And because of that vitamin C, this helps with hyperpigmentation, this helps with dark spots and irritation, along with everything else that those retinoids normally do. And this also has bakuchiol in it. I would also say that this is best for that one person who's like obsessed with clean beauty. If you are obsessed with clean beauty and afraid to use chemicals, well, hate to break it to you, Susan, even water is a chemical, air is a chemical mixture, so we're all kind of screwed in that case. But especially if you're trying to buy this for a friend or a family member or as a gift, if you know someone who's like all about natural beauty, bakuchiol is a natural beauty friendly ingredient. Not because of science, literally just because of marketing, and it's marketed as a clean alternative to retinol, as if retinol and retinoids aren't already clean. Like our skin makes retinoic acid. Like how much cleaner can you get? Our own body produces it. Anyways, this is not a rant about the marketing claims versus the scientific census. Not today, brain, not today. This Paula's Choice one is fantastic though. I love this if you do have hyperpigmentation or just discoloration in the skin, or if you get those little leftover marks that stick behind after that pimple goes away. This is one of the best. And speaking of pimples, people who have pimples normally have oily skin. And what is my favorite retinoid for oily skin? We gotta go back to my tried and true Gran Active Retinoid. This is fantastic. This is the Gran Active Retinoid emulsion at 2%. And this is a beautiful, milky, liquidy serum that just soaks into the skin perfectly. It is amazing for oily prone skin because it doesn't make your skin overly greasy. It's milky, it absorbs well, and this actually has retinol as well as this HPR, hydroxypinocolone retinoate, which, some studies say it's better than retinoids, but in usage, I find it to be very comparable. Because this has the best of both, and because of the way this soaks into the skin, I do like this so much, but I will say, this gives you a, supple look. It's not completely mattifying the way that something like this is, and I've actually never met a completely mattified retinol. Does anybody have a retinoid that is just matte? Something that like wicks away oil from the skin, but also has a retinoid in it? Please tell me, because I am actually missing a product like that, and I would love to have one, but for the time being, this is inexpensive, it's effective, and this is one of the best retinoids for my oily prone skin. And if you're normal, if you have normal skin, why are you here? Like, hi, share. I'm not a Hannibal Lecter, like I'm not gonna, but I mean, if you could just share the normal skin secrets, you'd be saving us a lot of money and a lot of stress, baby. What is the best retinoid that you have ever used? What skin type do you have? And are you going to click this video to learn more and become a true skintellectual? I hope this was helpful. Always remember to be beautiful both inside and out. If you find the hidden kitten, post a comment about what time in the video it appeared, and maybe I will pin you to the top, all Mr. Baleen style. I love you guys, and I can't wait to see you here. Love you guys. Bye.